Hi, I want to welcome you to episode 11 of First Drafts That Glow. My name is Avon, or Nails That Glow, depending on how you know me, and just so happy and honored that you continue to join me for each of these episodes. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends, like even the bad ones. Like I want to hear your comments down there, like and subscribe. I want you to notice that I am in a new location. I am house sitting 2 cats, and one of them is making a whole bunch of noise on the other side of the room. I'm a little distracted. He's kind of attacking a paper bag, like cats do. And notice I'm using a boom arm, because fabulous, wonderful people are just being fabulous and wonderful. And how can you hate that? You can't. You absolutely can't. Anyways, last week's episode, it was a disappointment for me. There were parts of it that I really liked, but as a whole, it was not my best work. The nature of the show, I'm not going to go back and, start over or rewrite or something like that, because that's not what this show is about. This show is about starting a handful of words, prompt, and just going to town on, kind of like a free form or free writing, story. Like I just kind of have a rough idea of what I'm going to do. This one, I was kind of thinking of where it was going to go, and it more or less stayed in that realm. Kind of switched up a little bit as I went, but that's what this is all about. Somebody brought up to me online that how I describe my writing reminded them of when Stephen King wrote Green Mile. If I remember correctly, because they were confused about the details too, and I should have looked it up. I mean, that's preparation for you, right? That's totally preparation. He didn't know where the story was going to go. He just started writing and released a bit of it every week. Anyways, he just kind of started and wrote it. And then it became a fucking movie. A weird fucking movie. Like, let me grab your balls and boy. On so many levels. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Stephen King, but he's definitely a product of his time as far as like magical black people and white savior bullshit. But that doesn't take away from the rather phenomenal style of writing that he has, and just how he used his pain and translated them into stories like Stand. It. Anyways, content warning, I suppose. There is some I don't know how to put this. If you don't like horror movies where people are taken advantage of and killed and stuff like that, skip. I'm really trying to stay true to the horror promise that I made you. I'm gonna make up for last week. I promise you that. And I've been talking too long already, so we're just gonna go ahead and start. Yeah, I can't really move that much. The nature of this setup, I doing what I can. Okay. Okay. I'm so sorry for those of you who hate that. Alright, so today's episode is called Extort the Fog. The main concept dealt with the idea of like when I was working in my head, I was like, what if there's this family affluent, and there's a reason that they're affluent that is kind of horror-ish. It's not a new idea for sure, but oh goodness, if I sneeze, I will break my rule and edit the sneeze out because I try to not cut or anything when I'm doing this. But yeah, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here or anything like that with this story. I wanted to do a take on it that had I can't really explain. I don't know what I'm saying. It is super late. I waited too long to write this, and I am tired. Like I was last week, but I'm tired because I was spending time with somebody, and that came first. Not sorry. But anyways, we're gonna start now. If I look distracted or anything, that means there's cats. And I'll do my best to stay on the path. Okay? Alright. Anyways, here is Extort the Fog, a First Drafts That Glow story featuring me, Avon. He's hungry. I'll feed him soon. Alright, Extort the Fog. The land grabbing by the people from Europe was how the family secured such a space. They also managed to buy out other families over the generations to expand the land just over 2,300 acres, one of the largest private spaces in the USA. A space of Oregon, just out of range and sight of the sightseers visiting film sets. A natural border of fallen trees and some man-made walls covered in nature. The perfect place for the Rodmast family to keep separated from the world for the perfect place. That's why we're here. The perfect place for the Rodmast family to keep separated from the world for the past generations. The one feature they managed to keep hidden and secret was the cave system. The family head, Dan Rodmast, had been alive for nearly 200 years, they said. His son grew old and died as Dan took over the role of his own grandson. His most recent wife had given him a daughter before dying from an aneurysm 2 months later while walking out of the bathroom. Dan was never quite the same since. The rest of the family was banished from the house, and the staff that managed some of the land and the large manor was reduced to basic upkeep of the house and meals and space surrounding the house, or grounds. And the long road out of the property. Angie grew up in this, and she was always confused at the behavior of her father. She knew he was long-lived, that some of the family was curious how he had managed this feat and looked so young until the past few years. Angie would go off property for a week to spend time with the other family and review the family fortune and settle any issues between banished family members. She took up this task to release her father of this since he would walk the property and not come back for days. She assumed he had a hidden cabin that he would go process his emotions in, perhaps eat some drugs or drink to black out and come home when his ability to eat was not sustained by whatever supplies he might have out there. This was her life for the past 10 years. The family had recently gotten anxious about the well-being of Dan Rodmast. Even the lawyers were curious since he stopped answering phone calls and had made Angie the new family leader without a family council meeting. Some of the family insisted that once he died, they would oust Angie and take over the property and sell most of it off as an inheritance, since nobody wanted to live on the property again. The world was changing far too fast, and lives were established in other parts of the world. Angie was frustrated with everyone, but would convince her father to record 20-minute videos talking about how he felt justified of his decision to banish everyone. The legal team had video experts review the footage for months before accepting it as authentic. One of them insisted to visit the property, but when she asked her dad, he yelled and howled that if anyone uninvited set foot on his land, they would die. This was Angie's life. When she woke up feeling sick, she immediately called for a doctor to come visit the property. He took some blood and gave her some fresh over-the-counter pills and told her to just relax. When he asked about her dad, she suddenly felt worse. I haven't seen him for a week, speaking through clenched teeth. His eyes moving all over her body, the doctor nods. Well, did you two fight about anything? Or was he acting strange again? Without waiting for her to finish her deep inhale and exhale, he seemed to answer himself. Well, I'm sure whatever is keeping him in his cabin or whatever he calls that thing is amusing him. You know where he is? A rush of excitement hit her, making her forget her general body pains. He never quite showed me where it was. I'm noticing a problem here. I think I got distracted and started working out how she was. Anyways, I'm going to actively rewrite this here right now. Okay. He never took me in, and it is pretty far out. It's why we're here. It is why we're here. Okay. You know where it is? A rush of excitement hit her, making her forget her general body pains. He never showed me where it was, and in 2,400 acres, how could you find anything? Well, he did ask I not tell anyone, but it is a year or two past his checkup, and I do not recall him spending a week out there ever. Angie smiles. He's been going out more this past year. I'm worried because he never takes food and his condition is not what it was. Well, fine. Let me mark it on your phone. It took her hours to convince the doctor he was not required to stay. She told him she could pilot everything in the garage and would call if she found him in a bad way. She threw together her normal hiking arrangement: snacks, water, waterproof socks, and a few emergency blankets. She almost forgot the extra batteries on her way out. The spot on her map was not terribly close. It was nearly 1,500 acres away, and it was rough going. She had no idea how her dad could manage the journey as quickly as he appeared to in the past. She feared he might have hurt himself on the way back. Even with the trail, it could take hours. With how rough the area was and having to navigate through safely could take an entire day, and she was already getting a late start. Her head filled with questions. She was driven to find him. As soon as she found out where he was, her ill feeling went away. Like the resolve to get him was the best medicine. Perhaps I missed him, she mutters to herself as a raccoon and deer run past her as if playing tag. The speed of nightfall caught Ah, I'm doing so well tonight. Can't you tell? The speed of nightfall caught her without having set up a proper camp. He had to walk She had to walk around a series of fallen trees. She figures she could manage to make it to the spot on her map in an hour or so after waking up. Dropping her LED lantern down and to get an idea of where she could throw up her pup tent, she pulls out dropping her LED lantern down to get an idea where she could throw up her pup tent. She pulls it out and sticks the stakes in the soft earth. The late summer night was not cold, so she just rolled up as she would roll up as is would work. She fell asleep immediately after eating one of her larger protein balls and drinking some water. Her dreams felt distant and more like it was a TV show. She was watching her dad walk into what looked like a reinforced canvas structure built into the side of some rock. He had fashioned a door out of sticks, and behind that was very out of place. A metal door with some kind of keypad. She watches him enter numbers 1812. She tried to see inside, but was suddenly woken by her phone's soft alarm. Cursing as she ate and broke camp, she wonders if her imagination was getting the best of her. She had heard her dad say something about his life as a child and the Northwest Company. She never could make sense out of his stories. She imagined her idea of the First Nations living in the area mixed with her modern day ideas of hidden conspiracy. We shall see, she mutters to herself as she covers the small hole she dug for her morning concerns. As she got closer to the area the doctor marked, she began to smell cured meat and tanning hides. Like the hunting lodge workshop her uncle would take her to sometimes to see if she might want to learn how to prepare the deer and rabbit. She liked eating it, just not the messy bits behind the scenes. Her on again, off again girlfriend, well, she was more the hunter. She started to circle the area, searching for anything that could reveal any camping space. A trail of smoke from a fire, obvious traps, or possibly just large, brightly colored tent. Everything around was so overgrown and covered in layers of tree matter and random growth of things like marijuana plants and herbs, possibly migrating seeds over the years, she guessed. After hours of slowly walking the area, After hours of slowly walking the marked area, she ended at a series of bushes that she had been using as a focal point. She felt like it must have been mismarked, decided to increase the radius. But first, food. As she plops down to open her pack, she rolls back into the bushes into a small clearing. Just a few feet from her head, the canvas tent built into rock she had seen in her dream, in every detail. The door made of sticks creaked as she opened it. The metal oops, sorry. The metal door behind it giving her a static shock as she touches it. She can hear a hum and a dull throb. The smell of curing hides and meat suddenly hitting her hard. Running her hand on the right side of the metal door frame, she finds a divot that opens a panel, revealing the number pad. She enters the numbers from her dream, and the door pops open inwards. It is why we're here. She enters the numbers from her dream, and the door pops open inwards slightly before sliding to one side. Just inside, she feels air conditioning, and the lighting is small LED spotlights. She sees a reinforced set of stairs that lead down a few feet before leveling out to a finished floor of hard wood and throw rugs. She tries to take in how large and modern the entire space is. She passes a series of storerooms without doors that seem to contain stacks of boxes. After passing a few, she goes into one room. The room she was in had boxes labeled as irradiated corn, peaches, spinach, and potatoes, all sealed in cans, and each box was also labeled as being vacuum sealed. What kind of Star Trek shit is this? The feeling she's in a fallout shelter vanishes as she reaches the back of the large room. Dirt floor, uncovered stone walls, and large LED lamps strung together like in caves she had visited over the world. It went deep. She walked slowly, feeling cold air rush from behind her, then from in front of her. The smell of meat and tanning hides grew stronger with each gust from deep within the cave. A hint of death, but not the fresh smell of a kill being bled and cleaned. Something rotten and left over. Something containing filth and bile. The room she finds looks like what she imagines an abattoir from a comic book would look like if it were supposed to be in a cave. Large stone tables with deer, wolves, and other small mammals in various states of being skinned and drained. She notices an irrigation system that drains into a hole covered with a wooden slotted grate. On the other side of the hole is a large armchair with its back facing her. The faint sound of a radio playing jazz echoes in the cavernous space. She sees a large wooden shack with a stovepipe feeding into it connected to an obviously cold iron stove. Grabbing the peppermint essential oil from her pack, she dabs some of it on her top lip and the tip of her nose. Fuck, it is foul in here, she says louder than she thought. Her voice getting amplified by the space, sounding like she was amped through stage speakers. He died 3 years ago. I'm sure he shit and pissed himself as he choked on his vomit. I think it was a stroke or a seizure. A weak sounding but clear voice fills the room. What the fuck? Angie looks around, trying to see if there were cameras or speakers. Fumbling with her phone, she gets the flashlight on to shine in the darker corners of the space. What the fuck said that? Who said it that? Who is dead? Where is Dan? Where's my dad? Dan is dead. You must be Angie. It appears he was trying to make a new arrangement, but could not decide if he was willing to offer you or not. So he died. The voice adds a sharpness to the last few words. So, if you want to come to the oubliette so I can see you, we might be able to work something out. Where's my father? In the chair, I imagine. Excuse me. Rushing to the armchair, Angie starts to cry before she sees him. Small, dried out, a husk, and a shell of what he was just a week ago. She touches his left hand and it crumbles to the bone before the bones lose connections and start falling to the floor. No, she yells. How is this my father? This looks like he has been dead for decades. To be sure, he has in a way. Moving to the wooden grate with her phone's flashlight looking down. At first she sees the center of the room with a large bowl shape. The smell of blood and stale piss softened by her peppermint. Moving the light around, she sees a large pile of bones, all broken. Another pile, what looks like skins and hides. Then she shines her light on a figure her entire body rejects. No fucking way. Absolutely no fucking way. Nearly dropping her phone, she falls back on her ass, shrugging off the pack, then crawling to the hole again. What's the matter? The voice rings the room with more volume. You look like a child. She finds the figure again with her light. She makes out a small blonde child, skin pale like a white cloud, and eyes gray and empty somehow. Its smile showed a top and bottom row of sharp nails that must have been teeth. It was that they were all the color of rust and fungus. How long have you been down there? The face frowns and looks down. Well, I think it was the year of our Lord, 1812 or 16 or something. I don't know. What year is it now? Do not fuck with me. There is no way you've been down there for over 200 years. The child face furrows his brow. The child... the child furrows his brow. Well, then how the fuck did I get down here? And why is your dad up there, probably looking like some kind of husk dug up in the deserts of Egypt? Standing, Angie looks over the room again. How did you get in there? Where's this door? Where is a door to get to you so we can talk properly? You don't. Unless you drop down here, and then I will kill you. The fuck you just say to me? Looking back into the oubliette, she yells. The arrangement we had was that I would not try to escape by way of destruction of this body, and I would grant boons in the way of life and health in exchange for fresh meats and bone marrow. Licking its chops as it speaks. I just... That is insane. Stepping back from the hole, she looks around the room and over to the armchair. The room spins as she catches herself. I need to think. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. A soft chuckle follows the matter-of-fact statement. Angie walks slowly around the room, checking over the stone tables and the various storage lockers. She begins to wonder how all of this was brought down here. The path here was not clear. The bush surrounding the door showed no sign of a trail. One of the storage lockers held an impressive collection of handguns and suppressors. Another contained knives and swords, almost all with the Toledo impression. The last locker she checked was across from the armchair behind the desk, with the radio and a small arrangement of buttons and digital panels inlaid in the surface. It's the only one that she couldn't open. Trying to not look at the desecrated body behind her, or the desiccated, not desecrated. That's why we're here. Trying not to look at the desiccated body behind her, she studies the table, noticing a few of the panels were digital screens. The controls were basic. The top button was the power symbol. Pressing it caused the array of panels to light up. A few screens showing a tunnel flipping of what she guessed were different areas of it. One screen showing the library display of the family portraits, nothing else. The other panels were temperature, humidity readings, and the last had a listing of supplies ranging from ammo to food storage. The number pad that lit up off to the other side of the table glowed a faint red. She noticed the numbers 1, 2, and 8 were all faded. She punched in 1812, and the storage locker on the other side of the table popped open. Opening the doors fully, she sees it served as a door to a tunnel. She assumes it's the same tunnel on the panel display. What in the fresh hell is this? Looking around, she hears jazz music playing again. Wait a minute. Was that playing the whole time? She says, turning around. No. A new voice in the cave says with the sound of paper and dust behind it. The impossible sight of seeing her desiccated father moving his head slightly and moving his right hand slowly as it taps the remote under it. Angie suddenly notices the smell of death again and pukes. A raspy inhale and exhale. So very sorry for this. Another labor to breathe. You must throw my body into the pit and leave here. Angie produces a rag from one of her many pockets, cleaning her nose and face. What is happening? How are you talking right now? Your hand, Dad, your hand turned to dust. I know. A long pause as the eyes move randomly for a moment, then find center at different times. I tried to find a way out. You must not feed it anything new, or you will owe it. A hissing sound from below rises. Ignore the old fool. Let him crumble, and let us discuss a deal. I can make you immortal. I can bring your mother back. Stronger and more aggressive than previously, the voice from below echoes. Angie looks over her father. What did you do? I made a deal with the thing that promised to keep me young. The left eye rolls back slowly to nothing but a gray orb. At first, it was easy to feed savages and slaves. I then saw the harm I had been doing to my soul and stopped. The jaw slumps a little as the right eye tries to look down at his own face. Walking over to the chair, Angie gingerly lifts the jaw. She notices his eye blink slowly and tries to focus on her. It killed your mother when I refused to give it anything but animals. A ragged breath followed by a heavy sigh blew a cloud of dust into Angie's face. She steps back, wiping her. She steps back, wiping at her face and spitting some of the dust that got into her mouth. Her eyes watering and blurry, she tries to focus on the figure in the chair without much success. She stumbles to find her pack, finding a water pouch and pouring it over her face. A quick rinse and a new application of the peppermint to her nose. She walks back to her dad. In the chair is a jawless skull with tattered paper skin. The body seemed to have lost some shape as it settles into a slump. Crying out, Angie stops herself from touching the figure. She screams as loud as she can manage, causing her ears to ring. Hey, stop it! From below. He is dead, or less alive than he was moments ago. Just toss it aside and come talk to me. I have a deal for you. Looking down into the hole, Angie sees her tears dripping down like rain. You said you could bring my mother back. Yes. Not only that, but I can make it so you live for hundreds of years. All I require is tributes. Right, meat and bones. I can serve you a supply of kills like my dad. No. What? The huffing from below seemed to generate heat and increase the smell of decay. I require humans. Humans either alive or just not quite dead. Angie recoils. No fucking way. Your mom can be with you in weeks. Your lifespan will be longer than any other human. Angie sits, closes her eyes. Let me think. The next few days, Angie discovers that the tunnel is a path to the house, and the family display moves out enough to allow entry and exit. She takes note of a diagram on the inner part of the door that shows the location of the panel on the display to open the door back up. She contacts the doctor and tells him she cannot find her dad in the shack. He must have wandered off, she told him. She also said that he should fear the worst and start the clock for declaring him officially dead. Looking up pictures of her mom and watching old videos, she remembers watching them with her dad as a kid. He would add details the camera left answers to. She learned enough about her mom to know she would have been a great mom. She sees her dad in the videos looking more alive and vibrant than he had since she was a kid. There had been a sadness that overcame him after a time. A few weeks later, she's out on the Oregon coast. She finds a busy queer bar and joins the smokers on the patio. A lonely femme figure sitting alone. Sometimes I'm on autopilot when I type these sentences out. I'm like seeing it in my head. Anyways, a lonely femme figure sitting, flicking through something on her phone, catches Angie's attention. Hi, my name's Angie. Would you like to come to the bar so I can get you a drink? Looking up with a wide smile, a husky voice says, That would be very nice. I'm Lace. At the bar, Lace and Angie talk about being queer and boys being toxic. Lace casually mentions being trans, and Angie smiles, saying, Oh goodness, I hope I was not assuming too much by calling you a she. Lace laughs. Oh no, very obviously serving fish. Just some lesbians are not thrilled to know I have a dick. People get hung up on the wrong things. I just like girls. She offers her glass as a toast, and Lace replies with a hearty, Yup. The drive to her house was a little longer than Lace expected as she fell asleep in the passenger seat. Angie starts to sweat and worry. She then remembers the preparation, the promises. Inside the massive garage, Angie wakes Lace up. Inside the massive garage, Angie wakes Lace up, handing her an energy drink. Wake up, we're here. Without even fully opening her eyes, Lace cracks open the can and slams most of it before getting up. I'm ready for what comes next. Well then, cutie, come with me. Leading Lace through the massive hallways and up the stairs to the large bedroom and into the large bathroom that had a hot tub, and a shower with a dozen shower heads. Lace wakes up quickly upon seeing this and requests a few moments in a bathroom in private first. Finishing the energy drink, she hops off to the other side of the bedroom to the smaller half bathroom. Angie watches Lace close the door. Closing her eyes, she goes over her plan again. How she plans to do this thing, she is unsure. She has the capacity to do. She begins to hyperventilate. She slowly folds her legs under herself on the floor as she tries to slow her breathing down. She feels the room spin, and her head get both light and heavy. The feeling of air deprivation starts to creep on her vision as she feels warm hands hold her cheeks and is kissed by sugar-smelling flavored lips. She relaxes as Lace looks at her over, saying, You don't strike me as the type to be nervous. Oh, I'm okay. I think I just drank too much. I'm fine, Angie says as she notices that Lace lived up to her name as she was in lace bra and panties, her one masculine element doing what they do. Well, aren't you just adorable? After a while, they were both resting in the bed. Lace had drifted in and out of sleep and was about to pass out for the night. Angie felt empowered to finish the task. She could have done this in the car, but the true crime podcast had trained her better than that. Once Lace looked asleep, Angie took her phone, removed the SIM card, and turned it off. She then retrieved the morphine prepped injection, planted the needle into Lace's temple. A brief look of fear covered the face of the girl as she suddenly went limp. Angie collected everything she could find of the girls and put it all into the gas-powered fireplace. She threw the girl over her shoulder and carried her down into the tunnel. She started crying. Why did you have to have sex with her? She stumbles slightly as she cries harder. Once in the cave again, she relaxes. She checks that Lace is still warm and has a weak pulse. She looks for a long moment where the armchair was, where her dad was, where she saw a corpse talk and then crumble to dust. Another moment she pauses. A soft growling sound comes from the hole, followed by a laugh and a series of words Angie thinks are Greek or something else as ancient. Angie lifts the wooden grate, setting it aside as she recites the words the thing told her to say. She tried looking them up. The computers and books were no help, gibberish as far as the world was concerned. After reciting, she takes a silver needle to prick her palm. She rubs the blood from her hand over the face of the drugged girl, says another line of nonsense words, and then, feet first, drops the girl into the oubliette. Before she can manage to replace the covering, the sound of wet crunching and tearing fill her mouth with warmth. She manages to contain it until she is over the wastebasket and pukes. The thing in the darkness howls and laughs. The next day, Angie drives the car she took to the coast to an abandoned fast food restaurant parking lot, leaves the doors open and pours animal fat and meat all over the front seat. She then walks off the road to a motel and then orders a ride. Once home, she checks that there's no space that Lace might have been other than the bedroom and the bathrooms. She cleans everything up and burdens the morphine gear, cleans out the fireplace, and runs the remains from there through the grinder used for composting, adding the remaining evidence of Lace having been in the house to the material that would be used in the garden eventually. She cried for 3 days solid. She avoided meetings and calls. Her excuse was she was sick after being out and getting drunk. She hinted to the family lawyer that she might need help locating her car. She remembers making out with a girl in the car before finding herself at a motel. The 4th day, the lawyer and police showed up. "We just want to make sure we have the right details," the generic detective, fitting all the tropes Angie was used to, said. "Last time anyone saw this, Lace was with you at the bar. She then left you with you, and no one's seen her since." Angie had set everything up. She was really keen to have us make out, so I just drove to the lot and we, played around for a bit. She pauses, looking at the lawyer. "Look, this is uncomfortable." The lawyer said, "We can delay all of this if you want." "No, it'll be okay. There's nothing else I can really say." She looks at the detective and his partner. "I must have been more intoxicated than I realized. I didn't want to drive till I rested, and she agreed." "You admit, then, that you were driving drunk?" "My client is being very candid and talking to you very candidly." Plainly, I meant to say. "My client is being very candid and talking to you very plainly. If you cannot respect her and her family's role in this," the lawyer is cut off. "Okay, this isn't a crime show. I'm just making sure I get it all right. Please continue." "Well, I remember falling asleep. Next thing I know, I was at some motel or hotel or something, and I had to order a ride because I couldn't remember where I parked. Even my key fob wasn't with me." "Right, well, all of that checks." The detective looks to his partner and then to the lawyer. "Well, I can tell you that your car is a total mess. It seems that when you left the car, Lace must have left soon after. You both appeared to have left the doors open or unlocked. We figure some homeless used it to sleep in, and then some animals got in there because there was meat and grease all over from whoever or whatever used it as a shelter. The trunk area had some emergency road supplies that were ignited somehow as well. Not sure how that happened, but the entire trunk space burned up. No signs of human remains, and can't really say that there's any significant foul play to be suspected here. But if you do hear from this girl again, You will let us know. I will, Andrew replies softly. The conversation with the lawyer was him making sure that Angie had nothing to do with whatever happened to that girl. He was trying to understand the behavior from Angie, but she dismissed it as fearing her father as being dead. Seemingly satisfied with this, the lawyer leaves. That night, Angie had another dream. It is like she's watching it again on TV. Not in the scene, like a closely framed show. She sees a woman in the cave space, her face obscured. She sees her father, and the woman pour her body into the hole. The woman cries as she holds her belly. The morning sun Angie wakes to stings. Her eyes are puffy and sore. She decides she was crying in her sleep. She attends some of her meetings through videos and makes sure that nobody will be coming to the house for the rest of the week. Back in the cave, she shines her phone light into the pit and sees a skeleton of lace arranged as if it were sleeping on her side in the center of the room. What was that dream I had last night? I thought you killed my mother because he refused to give you bodies. Peering from the shadows into the spotlight generated by her phone. Oh, I wanted to eat your mother. She was not able to maintain the task. Your father denied me, so she died. Then your father began to age again. Who are you? Nobody really. I just didn't want to go home. I like it here. In this pit? Part of me is in the pit. The rest of me now inside you. What? The thing smiles and laughs. I expect my next meal in 4 months. Angie begins to cry. 15 years later and 45 bodies later. That's why we're here. Angie wakes up and is dressed before the sun is properly in the sky itself. She is in the dining hall with her mom and some of the exiled family she invited to live. Can't even talk. And some of the family that had previously been exiled. Well, sleepyhead, we've been up since before the rise of the sun. Hey, Mom, just because you've been living in a commune for the past 40 years does not imply the rest of us are corrupted by the world. The cheer from the other family members echoes. One of them says, and you both look so young, followed by laughing. On the other side of the room, the figures of each person she had offered to the thing standing, looking at her. At the front was Lace with her large puppy eyes. And she saw them in every room, every space, every day. She pushes the figures out of her view as best as possible. She was going to be 25 forever, and her mom would be with her. This was Angie's life. And there we go. What did you think of that? I really like this. I really, really like this. I like it for a number of reasons, but I'm going to keep it all inside. I was chatting with somebody before I started recording, and I made the comment that I needed to wrap it up because I could have written another like 5,000, 6,000 words, showing a level of depravity that Angie started to develop where she killed people, but the story wasn't about murder porn. Like this isn't House of Dragons. This isn't, any just an excuse to have a slasher story or anything. It was just. Anyway, you know what the story was. You just listened to it. But I really hope you enjoyed it. I had an exceptional time writing it. I really like the Angie character, even though she ended up being corrupted, and the Lace character, she's just so cute in my head. Like, she's just this adorable, little girl who was just at the club being a wallflower, being shy, and yeah, like sapphic love being what it is. Sometimes a young girl is just like, oh, hi, how are you doing, kind of thing. And I wanted to be sure to continue having queer and trans characters as often as possible in my stories, making it explicit that that's it's not the story that they are queer or trans. It's just part of their characters, kind of thing. And I am utterly rambling. It is late. I am so very tired. And I still have to edit this so I can upload it for all of you lovely people. But yeah, like and subscribe. Tell me what you think below. Tell your friends. Share it all over the place. Let me know what you would like to see me write. I would be thrilled to hear your ideas. Like, give me a prompt or two. Tell me, like, you want to hear a story about like a fucking like some see, this is where my brain's at. Tell me you want to hear a story about an astronaut that runs into like some kind of alien vampire or something. I don't know. It's Halloween. My limited scope of imagination, I am running on empty. I poured all of my creativity into writing this story today, and then having the energy. At least I hope it was good energy reading it for you. Oh, have you noticed this is my non-binary flag? Yeah. I might be a trans femme, but I'm also non-binary. Represent y'all. Where are all my non-binary creatures? Where you at, Space Cats? Alright, anyways. Like and subscribe once again. I'm Avon. Visit me at ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/nailsthatglow. Or you can visit me at nailsthatglow.com. On Twitter, First Drafts Glow, or my personal Twitter account, nailsthatglow. Are you seeing a theme? I hope you're seeing a theme, because I have a theme here. And in the next few days, I am going to actually record the first episode of Abstractions That Glow. If you're listening to this and you want to chit-chat with me for 5 to 15 minutes on an audio, it'll be presented as an audio podcast, but I'm also going to record it video style, so like ways to watch it. If you're interested in being on my show, I'm interested in talking about writing, comic books, movies, video games, stuff like that. Not exactly sure where the show's going to go, but I just want to have a non-structured, like, scripting these out, except for the intro and outro. And I'm all rambling. But anyways, I just want to have a nice conversation. And that's what Abstractions and Glow is going to be. So keep a lookout for that. And once again, just thank you ever so much for visiting and joining me for story time. It's so great. Stories are amazing. you're writing a story or you're creating something, keep doing it. Share that shit. If somebody says it isn't good, they're just jealous. You're actually trying something. You're actually doing something. And, you're pretty beautiful too. You are. Anyways, I'm Avon. This has been First Drafts That Glow, episode 11. I forget the name already. It is called Extort the Fog. Does it sound tired? And yeah, have a beautiful, beautiful day whenever you're listening. You.